Welcome to another episode of the RAG podcast. And for those of you who don't know, the RAG stands for Recruitment Agency Growth. Since early 2019, I've been interviewing the most successful and innovative recruitment owners to learn how they rose to the top of their game. In season 7, I'm going to be having raw, authentic, and insightful conversations with agency owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, people across the industry. And I want to be learning about their ambitions, what's happening behind the scenes in their agencies today, and their plans to navigate difficult market conditions. I'll be bringing you the latest and greatest recruitment stories every single week on Wednesdays at noon across multiple platforms. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to my final episode of the RAG podcast live in Dubai. On this week's show, I'm joined by Oscar Orellana-Hyder, the founder of Cordell Partners. Oscar started his business 5 months ago, back in the summer of 2023. I worked with Oscar as a client when he was at Robert Walters. And in the time he worked with me back in 2021, he went from someone who thought that using LinkedIn was complete nonsense and would smash the phones, and was billing about 1.5 million dirham, which is $300,000 to £400,000, to someone who then a year later was billing 3 million Abu Dhabi dirhams or AED a year, all through his LinkedIn, all through inbound results. He completely transformed the way he worked to the point where not only did he make more money, he became semi-famous in the financial services world. He was invited on the local radio in Dubai. He's got connections to the royal families in Abu Dhabi. And he built the confidence to launch his own agency in 2023. He's now 5 months in. His personal brand is still generating business all over the region, and he's got some exciting plans for 2024 and beyond. If you're really interested to find out how a personal brand on LinkedIn can actually pay dividends in terms of revenue, you've got to listen to this episode. Without further ado, Oscar, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. You have been, you've been someone I've wanted to interview for a long time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ooh.
We've been working together for a few years now.
Yeah.
And you've been on my radar. And obviously your life's changed a lot this year. And we nearly did this in December, but the chance of me doing it in Dubai live had to make that chance.
So good to see you. Always nice to see you out here.
Oh, pleasure. So we're going to tell all sorts of stories, right? But
Sure.
Before we do, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know you, I've done a brief introduction. I'll never do it justice. Who is Cordell Partners? Like, just give us the bird's eye, who you are today.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know.
And again, look, thank you, first and foremost. Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this. I love it. I really appreciate it. So thank you. Cordell Partners. Let's start with the name, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So Cordell's a family name. Cordell was my dad's middle name.
Yeah.
It's my middle name. And my wife just liked the name. I never really liked the name, but she loved it. And it's quite unique, and it's a family.
Where does that come from, Cordell?
Family business. So two different angles. So there's an American soldier back in the day that came across and made sort of a big noise, like in the 50s, whatever. Yeah. So there's also like a French politician, but we will leave that to one side. We'll take the American angle. But my grandma back in the day knew an American soldier that came over. He was called Cordell, so it's an American name. But it's a family name, and the idea is family business in the UAE and the Middle East. Family culture and meal times on a Friday is huge, right? So big families get together in the majlis on the holy day. A lot of my clients are family offices, single family offices, multi-family offices. So it's I'm not trying to create a family office recruitment business, but I want to have that vein flowing through my business now.
Do you think this region is run with a family ethic?
Ethos, massively. So, how do I, not to bore everyone listening, but the tribal sort of nature of the UAE and the Middle East, UAE is still very family name orientated. So you look at Carrefour is Majid Al Futtaim's the Al Futtaim name. Gargash.
Carrefour's a supermarket, right?
Sorry, yeah. Carrefour's like the Tesco.
Yeah.
And it's run by the Al Futtaim family.
Right.
It's still very much, so the importers of Toyota has, a monopoly from Gargash, the Gargash family. So it's the Canoe family from Bahrain is huge. So it's still very much like there. Right. They've evolved over time and they're huge corporates now.
Yeah.
But it's in what I do and a lot of my investment recruitment in terms of like families and sovereigns and entities in the free zones, it's still very much weird and wonderful family offices, and they're great. They're loads of fun. They're a bit wacky. They're a bit kooky. They're also so volatile, right? So again, families over here, you can have 4 wives, right? So the principal or the patriarch can have 4 wives.
So Emirati families could...
As a GCC, so Kuwaiti, Qatari, Saudi, you can have legally 4 wives, right?
And do they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll take it up.
Not so much anymore, because of cost. Because it's expensive. Because if you buy wife 1, that house and that car, you have to buy wife 2, that house and that car. So
where would you live between all 4? Like a hotel, like a CEO of 4 businesses.
One's enough, right?
Yeah.
Headache with 1. Imagine 4, right? Yeah. So sorry, not to bore you, but 4 wives, loads of kids, right? So family offices, they can run billions of dollars. The dad dies, and it could be left to 25 brothers,
right?
Or 20 brothers and 4 daughters, or whatever.
Yeah.
So by their very nature, they're a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
And they're like volatile, and they need like a CFO, or they need like a head of compliance, or they need like someone to say, hey, we've got to sort of organise this and make some returns on it. We can't just spend it on whatever Nissan patrols and.
So you recruit. How would you describe the market you recruit?
Yeah, it is niche. It is niche, and for a reason. I prefer doing smaller businesses, smaller teams, but like depth of capital and more senior. So, for example, a DIFC family office has got $4 billion AUM, but it's got a team of 15 people.
What does AUM mean?
Sorry,
management.
Yeah, assets under management. It runs and it manages assets.
So it's all investment funds.
All investments, predominantly all investment.
Hedge funds.
That's a private equity funds, sovereign funds. I'm trying to, right? And that's what I wanted to do. 4 months into my own shop, it's kind of like evolved from that, and I'll get onto that in a minute. But yes, you're right. Investment funds, a CFO for that is, I'd much rather put a small, do one of them in 2 months rather than sort of spray and pray in banks and corporates and stuff.
And they're all like fluid, like entrepreneurial type businesses.
That's it.
You get access to the decision makers.
And that's kind of why this has evolved, and that's kind of why I've done my own thing, because it means a lot. And you're speaking to the patriarch, you're speaking to the principal, and it's like, thank you so much, we really appreciate it. Like, you're the only ever guy that we ever spoken to. We don't have a PSL. We don't even have HR. Yeah.
And are they all Emirati then?
Not all of them, no. So in the DIFC or ADGM, you can have Kuwaiti, Qatari, Saudi. There's not to go into it, but
do you have many expats working in those companies?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to be honest, most of them are.
Yeah.
It's just like the board and the SNT are local.
Right.
So that's kind of part of. That's what I like to do. I really enjoy the investment side of it. But then again, like so only financial services.
Yeah.
Foreign exchange. So like IG and Saxo and the brokers, like they have a lot of cash. They're not as sexy or as kind of like, appealing as direct investments, but they have a lot of cash. So Forex is a big market.
Yeah.
Compliance consultancies, which is quite interesting, a little bit, not so much. Because Middle East, everyone needs compliance.
Yeah.
The regulator says if you want to do anything, you've got to have your compliance in place. So that's quite hot. Yeah, and coming from a massive structure, so coming from Robert Half for 2 years, and then Robert Walters for 6 years, to huge, big corporate businesses, and it's very focused and siloed on what you do. Now,
you can do what you want.
Stuff comes along, and it's like, Oscar, we need a lawyer, and I'm like, yeah, but I've never done legal. Like, I'm sure there's better teams out there. And I'm really honest. I'm one guy.
Yeah.
And I've known these guys for years, so I'm like, you could probably get a better job from a legal specialist. And I'm like, no, we don't care. We only want to speak to you. We don't want to speak to whoever, Robert, whoever, or Hayes or Page. You do it. So I'm sort of there, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And it's great, and I'm not complaining, but I'm sort of like, for these funds and these families, you're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So it's like, that's why I'm saying other businesses are like, find me some. So I'm doing like data.
Some random things.
Data engineering. Yeah. Never done it before. But the guy's like, you do it. You've done everything before. We don't want to deal with anyone else. We've had bad experiences. We've known you for years. You do it. So I'm like, sure. Like, why not?
But I think the hardest bit though, when you're a niche recruiter, is if you're not a niche recruiter, is getting the work on. Because if you
Yeah.
totally go out to market with and you're trying to build a business,
Yeah.
and I'll recruit anything for anyone, whereas you've not done that. You've gone using your niche that you've always done to open up the door, that then
Correct.
you
Correct.
become a product of your own success.
Correct.
That's okay.
Correct.
Let's go back a bit then.
Sure.
So
Before we go back, I'm just laughing to myself. I got a call this morning. A doctor's surgery needs a receptionist. And I was like, look,
No, I'm not
I'm
doing
niche and I'm on my own, but I can't be doing that. So I politely said, look, thank you, but wow, so different.
So when did you start the business and start trading?
Yeah, September the 4th.
So we're 5 months in.
Yeah.
And before that, you've worked for. So let's go back. So
Yeah, of course.
you're from the UK.
Yep.
And when did you get into recruitment? What year was that?
July 2011.
Right.
So right at the start, yeah.
Same year as me.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Mate, I was in Australia in March 2011. Got the job.
Yeah.
So who did you
London.
join?
So Goodman Masson.
Oh, I know. Good.
So
Big
Goodman
finance recruiter.
Boutique in London. Like, I was with them 5 years. I loved it, I must admit. Like, great people. So it was kind of like a Hudson spin-out.
Yeah.
It's Guy Hayward, Andy Michael, good time guys, like in Barbican, in the thick of the city, like loads of fun. I wasn't in FS. I was in commerce.
Right.
So I didn't do, although we were in the city and it was heavy like FS around us, we did commerce and industry in like British Airways in Heathrow. We did like CBRE. We did like all sorts of like Shell and
What were you recruiting for?
BT, all fine accounts.
Always accounts.
So newly qualified accountants up to like FDs, FCs, all that sort of jazz.
You were there for 5 years.
There for 5 years. Absolutely loved it.
Top
Great.
biller type character? Or?
To be completely honest with you, Sean, I had an amazing work ethic. I smashed the arse out of the phones. Hesitated there. I smashed the phones, and I loved it. And I loved running around. But for whatever reason, I got promoted in 2 months to a different desk. In 2 months' time, I was a researcher for 2 months. I got promoted to private practice, placing top 50 accountants into like top 10 accountants. Ronan Farrelly, lovely guy, Irish, but it just never worked. It never gelled. And I never imagine taking an accountant from a top 50 into an accountant for a top 10.
Yeah.
It's pretty dull stuff. And it never clicked. From placing like analysts in BA or you know, whatever, it never
Didn't excite you.
Never clicked. So I sort of trod water for about a year on that desk. And then there was another opening, and I've always got things through opening. And another opening on the old desk, so I went back to the old desk. So kind of 2 years in, I'm in this weird place, and there wasn't kind of full legs. And complete transparency, I went back from a 360 role on one desk for a year. I went back as a researcher. I was a researcher for Goodman Masson for like 3 years. But we, as a team, we would place on average like anywhere between 12 and like 30 newly qualified accountants like a month. Yeah. So it was a big team of people. We were on the PSLs for all those sorts of companies. And
Earning good money.
It was a lot of volume. So as a researcher, like I was placing a lot of people through other people. So I was getting bonuses of like half decent, but not the client side. So I was never client side in London, which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
And that's so no book, no nothing, like from nothing. So I got to the DIFC.
What made you come to Dubai?
Dubai, so the missus.
Right.
I wanted to go to Singapore.
Why leave the UK in the first place?
We got married. We were in Cyprus. We were in the sun for a couple of months. We came back. It was grey. It was drizzly. It was like October time. We were like, bugger this. We're going to Dubai. So we went to Dubai for the Formula One in November. Abu Dhabi for the Formula One in November 16.
Yeah.
And just loved it. Just loved it. Don't believe what the Daily Mail says. Don't believe all the press. Brilliant. Absolutely loved it. And I was complete convert. Like I kind of, the Singapore itch or the filth, right?
Yeah.
Failed in London, tried Hong Kong. The filth sort of like lost its appeal. And I was like, this place is cool.
Yeah.
Like, let's give it a go. So we moved out first week, Jan 17.
Right. That was the year I started Hoxo, I can remember.
Really?
Yeah.
So dived in, and I remember interviewing. So they were like, so you've never worked clients, you've never worked FS, you've never even been to Dubai, and you want a job. I was like, yeah, try me. Give me a go.
Confident.
Give me a go. So I met with all of them. And
in Dubai, or did you do it from?
No, in Dubai.
You came over for the
Yeah, I
interviews?
came over, like a working holiday.
Yeah.
Brought a suit, went to the Formula One, met with, I can remember it like yesterday, right? I met with Half, Page, Hayes, Walters, Aspire, another
Big boys.
couple of other regional ones. And none of them wanted me. I was like, I understand. Got back to London, January. I was like, fucking hell, it's bleak, blah, blah, blah. I forget. I did a year sabbatical. A year and my dream job working for Harlequins Rugby Club.
What, in between Goodman Masson?
Yeah. So I left GM in like summer 15, I think. 16. I can't remember. 15. And then I did a rugby season. So less than a year, like a September to like April.
Yeah.
At Harlequins.
Doing what?
Selling commercial stuff.
Right.
With my old mate, Mike Ritalik.
Why didn't you stay there?
I got the bin.
Right.
I got sacked. Yeah. So no good at that either.
Your honesty is incredible.
No, seriously, like dream job. Like imagine you work in a football team.
Man City, yeah.
Loved it. I was taking the piss next to Chris Robshaw. Loved the environment. Kind of like they say, never meet your favourite celebrity.
Yeah.
Like
they underwhelmed you.
It was tough. It was in like the job. It was not easy flogging at the time what was like not a very good rugby club.
Yeah.
Selling tickets. Yeah. So I got the bin. We got the bin. We're the shit. Just got married. Let's move to Dubai.
But you don't get the job in Dubai. None of them want you said.
So the last one called me up in January was Robert Half.
Right.
And I was like, great. Like didn't really know much about them. Blah blah. And came over with Robert Half. So did just under 2 years there. Did 8.
And what job did you get for them?
Yeah. So
recruiting
that was
finance.
Yeah. No. So financial services 360. So thrown in, never been to Dubai, never been client side, never done FS. Here you go.
But recruiting finance into FS, still accountants.
Just anything. The market's too small here. You can't. So in London, it was only accountant in commerce. Here, it's too small.
So like anything for those companies.
In financial services, it's too small to specialise.
Right. Okay.
It's only been going. DIFC's only been going 17 years.
Right.
The ADGM.
What does DIFC stand for again?
Sorry, Dubai International Financial Centre.
Right.
So Canary Wharf.
Right.
Of Dubai. ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Market, started in like 2017. Right. So that wasn't
That's really new.
So really new. So you can't, it's too small. You can't
so you get here. What does your wife do?
So she works for BCG.
Boston Consulting
Group. Yeah.
And she could just get a job for them here.
Yeah. She moved with something as well. She went into like lifestyle management. She had a couple of jobs. Classic Dubai story. One wrapped up, one sort of withdrew from the DIFC. She worked for a fund in private equity in the same sector, and they were basically bent and they all disappeared to America and left her one day sort of keying in the number, and the number didn't work to open the door, and it was like they've just disappeared. The weirdest.
But you both come out here. She gets a job, you get a job. And what was it like trying to build a desk then with no client-side experience?
Tough. Yeah, it was tough. But I go back to it, and recruitment's recruitment, brilliant for that. Just work ethic.
Yeah.
Just smashing the arse out of the phone. Like a London mentality in Dubai, great. Like, because no one else around you has that. Yeah. Like chutzpah, if you want. Like Middle East is very like shway, it's very mashallah, it's very like slow and steady.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take that like little spark and plug it into...
That's why the UK runs the recruitment industry globally. Because we come with an energy.
I got beasted at GM. I loved it. I got beasted. We used to do 100 calls a day. Yeah. If we did 120, you go upstairs and play ping pong. Like just chained to the desk.
Yeah.
And like, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh my God, that must have been terrible. Like, I loved it. I loved the chase. I was calling PwC, KPI. I knew PwC switchboard off by heart. I had jokes with the switchboard lady. Like it was just like smashing the arse out of the phone. Anyway. So that sort of mentality with a bit of like discretion, a bit of caution, and a bit of like know who you're pitching to and know who you're talking to is very different sometimes in terms of you can't smash and grab. And
same energy here, you've got to be careful, yeah.
In terms of like you've just got to be a bit sensitive. But in that attitude and that mindset, like, yeah,
So how did your career evolve over the first 2 years there?
Yeah, so Robert Half's good, like in terms of like reputation and sector, never saying negative. They gave me the job. They great American company, got into the DIFC with those guys. I tagged on to my second manager I'm still very close with, and he's trained me up, and he sort of showed me the ropes a little bit in terms of the client side, and he was out here maybe 3 or 4 years before me, and you
worked with Calvin at Robert Half, didn't you?
Yeah. So Cal was on the other desk. Cal was finance and accounts, at Rubber Half, and his brother, Darren. So yeah, it's very small. So a lot of people, and you talk to others, name names, but you talk to others in that desk at that time, loads have spun off and done their own thing, because the nature of that business is kind of, you're your own guy and you've got your own book and run it.
How did you find, just before we go fast forward, how did you find getting here and paying no tax? What was that like?
Yeah, it was great.
Was it a bit of a shock at the start? Like, the reality is
it was great. You sort of don't really believe it until you get your first second. Like, okay, right, so all of it goes in the bank. Yeah, all of it. Okay, great. Yeah, it's great. It's a lot of people get carried away, and you hear a lot of stories of a lot of people leverage, flashy cars and big houses and all the rest of it, nice glitz and glam, and people. So it's not always kind of what it sort of seems to be from the outside. But if you're careful and you're smart, and I think I watched very briefly your chat with Chris and Amanda, and also sort of Chris and Amanda before that from Red Hole. Yeah, is that it's expensive. It's like a pint of beer is 12 quid.
Yeah.
Average meal is a lot, right? It's 50 odd quid for a burger and a pint. So yeah, it's very different to how it's.
So you earn more, but you spend more.
Yeah, and there's hidden taxes, right? So VAT came in January 18. There's taxes on everything. But yeah, it's. I would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Yeah.
The access you get is also pretty surprising.
What do you mean?
In terms of like, in London, like, I'm just a number. You and I are one of thousands running around the city flinging CVs. Here, you have an element of like give before you get, an element of patience, an element of like respect, and kind of slow and steady with certain pockets of the government or certain pockets of the sovereign wealth funds, and you can get access to.
They'll answer you. You mean they'll come back to you?
Yeah. So I recruit for them, right? But what I'm saying is that, like, you can have like, I've got a few like His Excellencies on WhatsApp, like just chatting to like parts of royal families in certain emirates, and like ministers. I've got the Minister of Economy's like number 2 on WhatsApp, and it's like, in London you'd never dream of getting that access to.
Why is that? They're just more open, or smaller, or?
I think more open. They appreciate your commitment. So I bang on about commitment to the region, and I'm seeing it even more so now with 5 months in my own thing. Right? They love it. If you move here, you relocate, you have some kids here, you open a business here, they're genuinely grateful.
Right.
I know that sounds weird, but like, thank you. Like, you're really
contributing to our economy,
exactly.
Right?
You're building the ecosystem. It's such a new geography. It's so young in its development. The country's 50 years old.
Yeah, it's nice.
Right. So there's nothing here. Yeah. So they're really appreciative, and they sort of welcome you in. They want you to do more. In recruitment, we're like estate agents, scumbags, and IFAs in London. Here, it's like, thank you. You're bringing people to our economy. You're contributing staff to our businesses, funds, banks, whatever. Like, thank you.
Grateful.
Like, what more? Yeah, like, what more can we do? And here, we're really viewed as like an asset and like a
partner.
Yeah, like an ecosystem builder, as opposed to
another phone call. Yeah,
basically. So it's difficult to explain without really feeling it, but it's an amazing place.
But you then ended up at Robert Walters, right?
Yeah, so dear old Jonesy, Nick Jones, I saw him this morning, legend, lovely guy, the nicest guy. I've said to him to his face loads of times, he's too nice for recruitment, like the nicest guy, love him, legend. He was in Oz, he's been around the block, done it for many, many years. Nick Jones at Robert Walters. We used to compete on a few jobs with certain things in compliance. One day, just says, fancy a round of golf. I was new to Dubai. Round of golf's about 120 quid. And I was like, yeah, definitely at the time. And he took me out, and we had 4.5 hours of chat. And there was a client on that 4-ball. I was like, this is weird. Like, why are you inviting me to like a golf day with your client? And like, we're competing. It's like, we're not really like, we're competitors, like industry peers. Like, there's room for all of us here, and just chat. And over the time, he was like, well, you'd come across, and that was that. So competitor turned boss, basically, like so many of those stories, right? He moved across to tech. I stayed there 6 years. I helped open, didn't help open, they opened the office, but I had a real passion to grow Abu Dhabi. I could see Abu Dhabi was the next wave for this country. A lot of people forget it's the capital city.
Yeah.
It's where all the sovereign wealth funds are, well, almost all of them. It's where the real money is. This place runs on an airline and tourists.
Yeah.
Right? It's run out of oil, doesn't pump any oil. It doesn't really have huge sovereign wealth. Okay, Sheikh Mohammed's got one fund. There they've got 5.
Yeah.
So they've got 5 times the amount of royal wealth in Abu Dhabi. So very simply, I was like, there's more to do over there. Let's give it a whirl. Sat down with Chris Hickey, met him, interviewed Chris Hickey, Royal Horses in London, legend, lovely bloke again. He was like, we got to open in Abu Dhabi. And then JB came and Grundy, I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. So I kind of unofficially I was the most active with Abu Dhabi. It's about an hour and 20 up the road, but they've got Formula One, it's the growth area. I was there yesterday. And yeah, it's a very important part of this ecosystem. Yeah. And that's where the government are, that's where the proper royals are and all the rest of it. So it's a great place.
So at Robert Walters, you started to focus on Abu Dhabi?
Yeah. So I joined them end of 18. From like middle of 19, start of 19.
What were your billings like? Were you doing well?
Yeah, I was doing all right. Yeah, I was doing all right. So 19 was probably about just under 2 million dirham. COVID year was 1.1, which for COVID was apparently quite strong. And then I met you.
Yeah.
And then it's your fault. So we were just chatting, early 21 was when I started.
So let's go back to that because JB was the first person who was on the show previously that got me into Robert Walters, and then when I started working the UAE office, which is where it was one of the first groups to join the program. Yeah. So I'm on the Zoom webinar just after COVID from the UK. Yeah. What was your perception of the first moment of being put on a live training with Sean?
I mean, it was really tough. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. Like, COVID was tough. So 2020 was difficult, right? We were, from memory, we let go of maybe 2 or 3 people. We were on 20% pay cuts, so on 80% salaries. We weren't allowed to come to the office. We were separated, so around this desk there'd only be like 4 people. It's a weird time. Yeah. So people were fighting for clients. People were fighting for everything. They're fighting for their jobs, right? To keep their whole livelihoods, right? And all of a sudden I've got this invite to join some media call at it was early for us. No, it wasn't. It couldn't have been. It was early for you.
Early for me. So, about midday for you.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And we were in the boardroom. And that alone, I didn't want to be in the boardroom with my team. So we were away from the main office. Grundy was next door in a room, sort of barking, like, get on the call. I was like, okay, fine. This media call. And I was like, what is this? Like, I need to be out there. I need to be on the phone. I need to be grafting. I need to be getting some money through the door. And I had to sit through this helmet, northern helmet, northern monkey, talking about his Frenchie or his bulldog or something. And you had so much energy for early your time. And I was like...
The first perception wasn't good, was it? You were like,
really,
who's this idiot?
It was really bad. I've got to admit, mate. And we had to do it. Grundy sat us on it. Episode 1, episode 2, we were like, this guy's a fucking... Yeah, bell piece. Like, none of us want to be...
You're so kind.
No, seriously. None of us wanted to be on the call. Some of the lads just dropped off and did their own thing. And how many episodes were there? 6 or 8?
There was 8 then, there's 6 now.
So 8 hours of your time, I was like, that's, in my head, I'm thinking like, that's like a lawyer, right? That's money. Episode 3 or 3 and 4, I was like,
I saw that.
Yeah, there's definitely something there.
A message from our sponsor, Vincere. Another of their products is known as Time Temp. This is your complete integrated timesheet workforce management solution. It's pre-built, it's pre-integrated, and it's designed so no matter how much your business grows, you'll be able to keep track of every single worker in one place in your CRM. All the changes inside Vincere will sync with Time Temp and they'll be fed back into your account, automating the entire process with two-way sync from your front to back office. Vincere's Time Temp enables you to create shift schedules, search available workers, shortlist and book assignments in seconds. They'll also allow you to track time, track leave, track expenses within their built-in payroll engine. It's called Door Clock. And then they've also got a mobile app for the on-the-go worker. If, again, you're looking to get more from your CRM, Vincere's Time Temp solution is another tool that enables you to perform more of your business critical processes in your CRM. Find out if you could use Time Temp via the link in the show notes. Right, let's get back to it.
But as I've just explained, I come from 100 calls a day, smash the arse out of the landline, forget LinkedIn, just verbal, right? Just chat. Get on the. If you're not on the phone, what you do?
Yeah.
Sort of that mindset, right? And I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, what's he trying to do? Why is he trying to do this? And then I sort of trying to think about I just changed completely. I was probably like third oldest in that, maybe fourth oldest out of like 60 people in that office. And I was that mentality of just smashing us out of the phone. I was like, this is what we've got to do. Like, this is a great way to connect with people subconsciously. Yeah. Like, without ramming it down their face. It's evolved in a few years. It's also a great way just to show your real side of things, your human element to it. And in our world, what we do, especially in financial services, by the way, they're not the nicest people historically. Yeah. They're not the most pleasant people to deal with, right? I've had some of the hardest, what was the hardest conversations 8 years ago, be like, you know what, stuff that you put on there, it's like, fair play, like, you're the only bloke that really sort of gives it some, and I appreciate it. And then I turned around, I was like, well, he's never going to do it, right? You're not going to do it. But it's like, to get that, it's like, great. And he listens, and now, so it's changed.
So you went from being a negative. Not everyone thinks I'm awful in the first 2 sessions, by the way. That's
really?
Definitely. I wouldn't have a business if that was the case.
Most of the office are like...
But week 3 and 4, you've got into it.
Yeah.
By the end, you're doing it. What impact did you taking yourself to LinkedIn actually have? Let's quantify it. People are thinking, well, what does it... All right, great, you're on LinkedIn now. But what has it actually done for you from a business perspective?
It's completely changed everything. So I went from those sort of like rookie numbers. My last year at Walters, I did like over 3 million.
Wow.
And it was like, great, like just from nothing. And I know in the training you always say like, but people came to me, as in like, not in an arrogant way. And of course, like BD's important, but it's the other way around now. Like the inbound is crackers, and like, you can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking other guys out there that do it better than me, well, how do they keep up with it? They've got to have someone to monitor that.
Yeah, you can build an engine like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it turned itself on its head, and just people came to me, like clients in our game, here, especially over here, candidates become clients very quickly.
Yeah.
So it completely transformed things. And I also, again, you've got to factor in the whole ego, or the whole like, oh God, what are my mates going to think?
Yeah.
I was one of those like rugby lads, like bravado, but I just didn't really care.
Yeah.
And it's like, just chip it off, and like, don't really care what you think. And again, some of those lads are like, fair play, like some of the articles, like, nice one, cheers, appreciate that. It's like, just humanise it, just humanise work.
Because I came out here in January 2022, 2 years ago, and I went for a few drinks with your office, and because I'd known your name on the calls, but I'd never met you. I walk in the office, and I remember you were like, something like, big man. I was like, what? He's like, Sean, come here. And you just gave me this big hug. I was like, you don't realise the impact you've had on me. And I was like, no, I don't. Tell me more. And then when you told me the stories of what's actually happened, I was like, wow. Like, I know if people do this, it pays off, but it's amazing hearing from the horse's mouth, someone who was so against it at the beginning, to change their mindset.
Like, one of the biggest like transformations in terms of like, just never really got into it, just had it. But now I don't even have, I've not even had premium
on LinkedIn.
No, just don't need it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I don't need it.
Yeah,
I do my own stuff, and
you've got the network now.
Yeah.
So let's move beyond that then. So you start to build more at Robert Walters. You got this brand where I've seen you on the radio. Like, how have you ended up on the Dubai Eye radio?
Yeah,
like, what's happened there?
So I used to play cricket with one of Tom's brother. So I was saying earlier, I sponsored a cricket team, the Loose Cannons, right? So Hamish, I played cricket with Hamish, and Hamish's brother Tom is one of the 3 on the business breakfast.
Right.
So I kind of always knew of the Urquhart, a Scottish sort of family name, and just kind of got introduced through that subconsciously. There was an article that I put out, and they were They just reached out and said, can you come on and have a chat about it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then it's kind of snowballed. And last year I was on almost like every other month. Well, no more than that, like 7, 8 times.
And what impact does that have again on you? Because you're then being played out on the radio across the region. People know you, more people recognize you.
Yeah. And the irony is, again, full truth, full transparency. Never really listened to the show. And I was saying that to them. I was like, I prefer a bit of like Radio 1 or like Virgin or like a bit of like Ibiza Rocks or whatever, like on my way in, just to sort of chill out as I'm getting in. Obviously now, since I've been on, like, I've only been on a couple of years. Since I've been on, I listened to on the way here.
Yeah.
But when I first I was like, I never really listened to you guys, but thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And now I've probably got to listen to you. But it's just that. A small element of trust, kind of perception, kind of opinion piece. Not everything I say is fully accurate, and like economists and a couple of PhD guys come after me and say, "Wow, actually, you know," and I understand that I'm not a regular economic contributor, but trends, new movers, the pace of this region, taxes coming in, new investment managers coming in, everything that's...
You've got your finger on the pulse, though. Like, you spend your time speaking to these people.
Yeah,
so
sure.
You're just sharing the anecdotal stuff you're picking up on the phone, I imagine, and
that's it.
You're not inventing things.
No,
you're talking about what you're seeing, and that is opinion based, right?
Yeah, of course. And so I put out a quarterly salary guide on different parts of investment or different parts of compliance or whatever it may be. I pump it out, and they ask me to come on and describe it and who's moving up, who's moving down, who's moving across in terms of the people, where they're going, and kind of, just an insight on the market, basically.
Love it. So,
which I really enjoy as well. I must admit.
It's great fun.
Because people call me up and they're like, or they message me like, it's good to know. Can I have the report? Can you send me the report? Yeah, of course. Great. Here's the report. Like, just a very easy conversation. Which again is sort of soft selling, right? If they hear you on their car as they're driving to work, it's like, yeah, great.
It's a joke, mate.
But over time, like of course, they get other recruiters on there and they get a selection.
But you're in the game. The difference is you're in the game. Your name's in the hat. Like, there's people that will never step outside of picking up the phone. Yeah. They'll still make money, but you're playing in a different world. You're actually navigating a different world now.
Mate, over here, in my opinion, you've got to do more than just that, right? So I've hosted paddle tournaments. I've taken people to the cricket and all this stuff you can do in London. But I just showed you pictures of the paddles on water. The cricket's at the National Stadium with like 50,000 people. Like, you can do Formula One pretty well in the Paddock Club and all that sort of stuff. So it's in my opinion, you've got so much resources at your fingertips to have a bit of a laugh with it and enjoy it as well.
So, when did you know you were going to start your own business? Because, like I say, I've been out here a couple of years, seen you each time. You've always been employed. This time you're not. Yeah. And it was April I saw you, so it was just before you left. Yeah. Why did you set up your own? What's been the catalyst?
Yeah, so I think COVID did a lot of bad, but a lot of good in that you had to rely on yourself and your phone, and people were calling you as opposed to any Robert or any whoever. And the relationships got, in my experience, the relationships got deeper and kind of broader and more personal through that kind of connection and through that sort of appreciation and hard work that we put in when times were tough. And what we were saying at the time, people remember when I was working from my bedroom or working from our front room, and it's like, yeah, we did it then. Like, it was tough, we got through it, let's do it now when it's good and I need this. Like, so COVID was the start, to be brutally honest. Like 2021, I was like, I've relied less on a big brand behind me to open doors. It's more of me and my go-to. And then a couple of personal things kind of accelerated it. I told you about my mum had a stroke in February, but when there's a circuit of events that come round, and I thought the real trigger was the start of the year. The start of the year, I was like, got to do it. It's now or never. Not getting any younger.
Last year?
Yeah, got to give it a go.
How old are you now?
35.
Yeah.
So no spring chicken.
It's a good age though
But that's the thing. A lot of people, I should have done it years ago. I don't think, for me, I don't think it is. I think I had a good crack, did 6 years at Walters, did everything I could do, got everything out of it that I could. I gave them a lot, and I just feel that there's more to do.
So when you then set up or plan to set up Cordell,
Yeah.
surely that was then, how hard was that to go from being employed on a visa to suddenly employing yourself and creating a company? Was that a lot of work?
Yeah, it was a lot of work. Yeah, it was a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
But it's harder because over here, everything's on the job, on the visa. So health insurance is Walters. You don't think about it, right? Visa, Emirates ID, all of that admin stuff is done. Leo, the legend, Leo at Walters just did everything. Whereas office space, landline, tech, all that stuff. Now I'm legal, I'm HR, I'm tech, I'm
You're doing it all
at once, which is a roller coaster. And as I said earlier, there's no family out here. Like you're on your own to a certain extent, so you've just got to rely on yourself.
And how old are your kids?
3 and 1.
So is your wife working? Or
Yeah, she's working. She's got no choice, mate.
Yeah.
No.
So you must have a busy life outside of work.
Yeah.
Was she?
There's a birthday every weekend.
Yeah. Was she supportive of that? Taking the risk.
Yeah, she's very good. She's very kind. She's very, very supportive. So she's co-founder.
Right.
So she's on the marketing. She's on the media. She's female, diversity. It looks good in this part of the world. So at the moment, it's myself, Nikki, and next week I have an announcement about a local partnership.
Wow.
So what does that mean? That means
this ain't going live till February, so you can announce it now.
Is it?
No one's going to know till February. We're recording at the beginning of January, but this ain't going live.
Perfect. So next week I will be announcing that Dr. Marwan Al-Falassi, fully family but UAE national, senior advisor to Mubadala, a sovereign wealth fund. He's been at a sovereign wealth fund for 15 years. He's going to come on as my Emirati sponsor, and my UAE national sponsor. And now, sponsor is a word that I choose to use because before I got here, like 10 years ago, to set up a business, you had to have what they called a UAE national sponsor to get a business. And they would, I believe, to my knowledge, they'd own like 51% of it. So you could never fully, and that's now disappeared.
Yeah.
But this is a gesture, and I want a UAE national involved in my business because most of the government entities and the sovereign entities around here have said, like, what's the plan for Emiratis? So it's a weird place, Sean, just to break it down, sorry, not to bore you. The population, right?
I'm thinking more about the listener, because I know quite a lot about Dubai. So there's people who would be like, what is an Emirati for a start?
Sorry,
it's a local...
For UAE local, full family, but mum and dad born here, he's got full nationality, right? The fellas that walk around in the Kanduras. The population of the UAE, I think it's 85% of it were not born here. Are expats, are Indians, Pakistanis, Filipinos, Brits, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So what that means is that the UAE national population is in the workplace is tiny, like really small. And what they're doing now is that Emiratization is a huge thing. Same as Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi. They're bringing in, or they're trying to employ more nationals. So a fund will come to me. They said, great, we've got loads of Brits, loads of French, loads of Indians, Pakistanis. This role needs to be a UAE national.
And they can actually say that without
100%.
sounding
Mate, 100%.
racist.
There's no PC in the Middle East, right? Our clients ask us to ask nationality, date of birth, all that sort of stuff.
Or they'll say, this is exactly what
I want an Arabic female.
Yeah.
Go. Okay, great. That's it. And that's how it's been.
Yeah.
And I say Arabic female because a lot of these funds have been like European, Western, white fellas, and they're like, looks really bad. We're all like on the pitch deck or whatever. So we need diversity. It's great. I'm full for it.
So you set your business up.
Yeah.
Administrative. Your wife's involved. You've now got a local sponsor, which is brilliant. But what's the vision for Cordell Partners? Like, what are you going to create?
Yeah.
What do you want to create? Because you're only 5 months in. It's still you running around on the phone and doing what you do.
Mate, it changes every week.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
What is the vision?
It changed every week for the first few months, but I'd love to grow it to a manageable boutique. I don't want to rule the world. I don't want to be a Robert Walters. I don't want to be a Corn Ferry. I want 10 to 12 senior guys and girls like myself. Basically, the main thing that I've said from the start of this whole thing is to improve the reputation and be better for it. Like, I don't want kids running around flinging CVs, just ripping people off. Last thing I want is loads.
Do you know what? Resources making 120 calls a day.
Loads of loads of like IFAs or estate agents, right? Flinging CV. I want decent, mature, like possibly parents or at least got a wife. Like, don't have a flashy car, don't have fake teeth, don't have all that sort of stuff that people look at the Dubai real estate agents and go, oh God, not again. Not again, that twat from Essex or Liverpool. Or I want a thin band of good people who want to do good work in a good way, polite, like respectful, like build businesses. So most of my clients now are new businesses to the region. And that's what I love, because they're here, they don't know how it works, they don't know who to call, they don't know what the variables are, and we build the businesses from nothing. So we see them go from nothing to 75 people, and right at the start they're like, thanks mate, like you got us the first whatever, you got us the catalyst for the license or whatever, and that's genuinely what I want to.
So you'll have like 10 to 12 people, mature headhunters across the region. Would you always, I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way.
Please.
You don't strike me as a people manager. I don't put you down as the JB who was on the previous episode. Like, you're not the Guardiola here. You're the striker. You're the Kevin De Bruyne, flair player. You're out there with the clients. You're on the golf course.
Always.
So how are you going to grow the team is through finding other people that are self-sufficient, right? It's not about training rookies up from the ground up. You'll get frustrated and bored.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've looked at this, and it's
why will they do that for you and not just do it themselves?
That's a very good question, and I'm going to hopefully
I don't know yet.
No idea. Hopefully learn how to get them to do it.
I'll come back on the show once you figure that out.
A few years time. Some of them have done it themselves. And it was the wrong time, or the wrong partners, or the wrong local sponsors.
I think a lot of people as well don't want to be on their own. Like they want to be part of something. Even if it's, you probably have to work out some form of commission split partner model that's different than a work. There's no point in competing with the rest. But if you can give someone most of the benefits of operating independently, but with the community of you and your brand, because your brand's big in this region, they're going to live off, they're going to benefit from being part of your brand. I think that is a value. There's a lot of value there.
Spot on. And there's also what I said earlier with Robert Half. There's a lot of guys and girls that have done it themselves recently in the last 2 years. And some of them are still one-man bands. And some of them love it and they never change. But I know for a fact that some of them are like, I'd like a bit of a community, or I'd like a kitchen chat.
But it's like going traveling alone or going traveling with a friend. Sharing those experiences is infinitely better than being completely stood on the top roof, stuck on a waterfall, looking at yourself, going.
And I can already. I mean, by the way, like already having conversations. Like we've all gone alone, and it's great, but we could do so much more together. And we could do so much more as one, like rapper. It's just who's rapper. No,
it's true.
It's true. Very, very exciting, and like there's so much possibility here, and I love it.
Do you think you'll be in the region forever? Is this you forever?
So the thing, people ask that forever or retire. It's very difficult to retire here. Like financially, you never fully own your space. Like you might own the house, but you'll never own the land underneath it. Like in
so you can still sell it and make a profit though.
Of course you can. Of course you can. But it's a very.
You're also not a resident, are you? Without working, I imagine.
You can be. There's golden visa now and all the rest of it. It's a tough place to fully retire because you don't get the state benefits. You don't get all the plus that you get in other geographies. So. No, I won't retire here. It's a very young country. The population's average age is like early 30s, mid 30s, right? It's very fast. It's become really fast in 8 years. Like, it's really busy. But I'll definitely be here. I've been here 8 years, right? And it's flown by.
You could end up in Europe though, in a beach town.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Called Turkey or Spain or Cyprus or whatever. You're not too far.
Yeah,
there's enough places in the world.
Yeah. But I love it, and I've never been to Saudi, by the way.
Right.
So Walter's hired a whole team to cover Saudi. I've never been. Saudi's going to take off. Saudi's going to be the next geography. MBS, the ruler, called it the new Europe. Yeah. Right? So he's building a city the size of Belgium, Neom.
Wow.
So Saudi's going to be mental in the next 5-10 years. So I need to go there.
Be part of that.
I've got an uncle in Oman. Love Oman. So like, the region is so big, and we haven't done enough of it. Yeah, it's wicked. I absolutely love it. Full on Khaliji, mate. I had 2 kids. Learn Arabic at school, don't they?
Did they?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, of course. Sing the national anthem. But
would they class themselves as from this region then, or would they say they're British?
Nah, born here. British passports, just born here.
But would they, if they said where you're from, they'd say the UAE?
Yeah.
They are,
pretty confused.
Yeah.
Pretty messed up.
Be tough.
Yeah.
What are their accents like?
Like mine.
Not American.
That's a good question, actually. Yeah.
Because like even in my kids' school, there's a couple of kids from like Nigeria backgrounds, and their parents are like doctors who've come to the UK, and the kids sound American because they've watched YouTube.
Yeah.
They've learned it through YouTube, and
mate, you still get Peppa Pig and stuff out here, like Coco Melon and stuff. But there's a lot of US influence. Yeah. So like in every community that we live in, there's a basketball court instead of like a cricket field or like a football pitch. Yeah. It's basketball. So the kids are playing basketball instead of football. Yeah. So I've had a conscious effort to say, hey, no, this is like football.
You know, showing them what the egg is, that rugby ball. That even no northern monkeys are interested.
Nah, mate,
it's not for me.
Nah, mate, his dad went through enough of that. It's not. He's going to be a bit more refined than his old man, right? Play golf and cricket and all that sort of stuff, mate. It's brilliant. I think there's so much potential. I think as a whole, the trouble is the space. Like, there's not enough space for these offices to be here. So they're building towers left, right, and centre. The infrastructure is not keeping up with it. The roads are crackers. So they're building more flyovers. They're building more because they can, right? It's so new. They're like, well, just scrap that road and build a massive junction, like in like the summer. It's just crackers. So that's going to be one of the challenges.
Do you think you've got to be a certain type of person to keep to? Because I think I'm the guy that loves change. Like, I actually live off change. Change is what excites me. Like monotony and stability actually doesn't do anything for me. And there's a lot. Like, if I look at my older 100%. Brother, if I look at my older brother, he would be the complete polar opposite. My younger brother's more like me. He just prefers Manchester, stays there. He's happy. He likes that stability long term, and he's not. It's not a problem. It's how he lives. He's got a great life. Yeah. Do you think people who live here have to be open to the fact that next year that road might disappear and that hotel 100%. Might grow? And
more than that, Sean. It's a very transient place. People
come and
go, right? Yes. Which is great for recruitment. Don't get me wrong, but you've got to be ready for your best mate to bugger off next year, or you've got to be ready for that couple's gone back to wherever. Yeah. So it's a weird place because you're constantly like, it's weird, but it's great at the same time. You're constantly meeting new people. Yeah. And it's really weird. Your friendship circle constantly like refreshes over a certain period of time. So we not sort of like going too into it, but you have different sort of sets of parties and sets of friends as your experience here develops, right? Like it's brilliant. I love it. But then you've got mates all over the world because we've got Americans that went back to Texas. We've got mates in Australia. We've got mates obviously all over Europe. Like, it's great.
Final question.
Yeah.
If I come back here in a year's time,
and
we sit in this studio and we do part 2, what are you going to have achieved by then? I'm not going to hold you to it like a black book, but
it's a big question.
What do you think could be possible in the next year for you in the business?
Yeah, definitely need to. I would love to hire a couple of people.
Yeah.
And again, that's evolving, right? So bear with me. New geographies, right? So I'd love, and it's already in the planning actually, a PO box in Abu Dhabi, a commitment in Abu Dhabi. I would love to. So that's 2 big things, right? A couple of hires, a new office.
What does an office in Abu Dhabi give you? Can you not just recruit from here to Abu Dhabi?
Of course you can. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Of course you can. It's all about commitment. So you've got the letterhead, you've got keys to a place. If Habibi wants to come round for a shisha or a dukkha, you can say come round to my place. It's all about commitment to the region. If I'm talking about bringing people like here and committing to the region, I've got to have some sort of PO box. Wow. And that's kind of what I learned from the other place, right? So I was the first headhunter with a license in the ADGM in 2019. And they loved it. They loved it.
But what did you actually have? A room?
Just a PO, not even a room, just a license in a shared space. Doesn't really matter. But the fact that you've got a letterhead, the fact that you've got an address, they just appreciate it.
Wow. It's interesting.
It's like two different countries. It's really weird, but it's like London and Brighton.
It's like the Watford Gap.
Kind of.
Above.
Yeah.
It's like Manchester and London.
Kind of, mate. Very different. But like they're also like brothers, right? They're relatives, but they're like fierce competitors. It's like two small countries. There was a country border in between Dubai and Abu Dhabi in COVID.
Right.
So you had to show your test. And you know when you go over country and like wherever, like they've got the big sort of gates and there was one of those on Sheikh Zayed Road.
Wow.
So it feels like two different countries.
Well, the first 2 times I came here, I flew Etihad.
Yeah.
With a friend of mine was an air hostess who just got us cheap tickets, standby tickets. Yeah. So I flew to Abu Dhabi and then got the taxi over. It was only an hour. Yeah. And then I stayed there for a few nights on my second trip. I've never been back since, but I'd like to go and
give it a go. Formula One. Formula One's the best thing. Or Ferrari World.
Yeah.
Tallest roller coaster in the world.
Really?
Back for you, mate.
Everything's the best, the biggest, the fastest.
Kind of.
We've got it all going.
Kind of.
Oscar, thanks so much for your time, mate.
Not at all.
You know, it's been a pleasure. It's been amazing working with you. If anyone's listened to the show, wants to find out more about the region, wants to find out more about your experience of working with Hoxo, or just pick your brains on starting a business and everything in between, are you open to it if I tag you on LinkedIn?
Mate, honestly, anything at all. Any questions, if they're moving out, if they want to get a job over here, anything at all, if they want to know, there's no question too big, too small. Honestly, always have time. Because that was us, right? And that was me 8 years ago. Yeah. And I still vividly remember the bloke who invited me for a curry and said, like, we haven't got a job, but let's go for a curry, as opposed to the bloke that never emailed me back. Yeah. And I still remember it. So always happy to chat.
And let's get you back on in ideally a year here.
No pressure, mate.
In the future. And let's see if you've got those boxes ticked.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. We're currently working with over 350 recruitment agencies and 5,000 of their consultants right now, helping them to build their personal brands to consistently win more business, attract talent, and just become that go-to recruiter in the market. Now, we do have a huge coaching program, but a lot of people don't know we also manage the brands of a lot of founders, and we can do the rebrand of that company organizational piece as well. So if your recruitment agency either needs help to look and sound exactly how you want it to, or your leadership and consultant level need to get out there and drive more traffic back to that website, to the business, and start using LinkedIn to generate more revenue, then you should definitely be reaching out to us. If that sounds of interest, please do visit www.hoxomedia.com or drop me, Sean, a personal message on LinkedIn. I love hearing from RAG listeners. I would love to talk to you. Look forward to it. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.